Hey y'all! In this video, we're going to be spending some time in the Clipart library. And specifically, I'm going to show you how to set up a custom Clipart library using your own artwork and vectors. Before we can do that, we'll need to go ahead and create a new file. And as we do this, we need to start thinking about a little bit of consistency in our file organization. So what I normally do is I do all of my 2D vectors on a piece of material 6 inches wide in X, 6 inches high in Y. Now, the Z thickness doesn't really matter because the only thing we're concerned with is the artwork. Also, the Z0 position doesn't really matter. Because this is all layout out here, we do want our XY datum position to be in the center. Now, in this case, I'm not doing any 3D carving, so this is irrelevant as well. And we'll click OK. Now, let's go down here into the Clipart tab. Now, for those of you who have used the Clipart before, we know that we can click over in here and we have a selection of 2D vectors. These are panel shapes, different vector objects that we can import into a project just simply by double-clicking, and those vectors are imported. Now, this is what I'm talking about right here, how big this is. What I try to do is keep my vectors smaller so that when I'm doing a smaller piece, it doesn't import this huge size. I find that by keeping a maximum size of 6 inches by 6 inches, it just works out better for me. Now with that selected, I'm going to delete it to get rid of it because that's not what I'm interested in. We have the Clipart folder, and some of us may have the Design and Make folder, as this is especially true if we have downloaded any of the free files from Design and Make, or we've purchased files from Design and Make. So you may or may not have that folder here. But as we get further into this, let's carry on our organization just a little bit further. What we're going to want to do is put some files into a folder, then add that folder to our Clipart library. So what I've done is I went out and I got a external hard drive. It's a 2 terabyte hard drive that I use for this and several other things. And on that hard drive, I created a folder called CNC files. Then within that CNC file folder, I have these 2 subfolders, my 3D models and my Clipart. Now, right now they're empty, as I wanted to show you how to get things installed here and then add this folder to the Clipart library. And before we do that, I'd like to remind you that I will be hosting a live Q&A session this afternoon at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, in which we'll discuss everything I'm going to show you in this video. So, again, that's 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And so I hope to see you this afternoon. So to get started adding Clipart to our file, what I'll want to do is find some of the Clipart that I tend to use a lot. Now, when I create a YouTube tutorial, I save almost all of the files, unless it's something simple. But if I find that I'm using the vectors from one project quite often, and I keep having to go back and find that Clipart, or those vectors, or those files, it's just as easy to go ahead and put that into my Clipart library. So, what I'll do is I'll go back to one of my old tutorials, and I'll go to the File menu, come down to Import, Import Vectors. And I'm going to go up into the folder that I store all of those files in. And here it is right here. and that is this Volkswagen Beetle carving that we did way back in episode 14. So I'll double-click that file to import it into my project. Now immediately we can see that there's a lot of stuff going on here. When you import vectors from a CRV file or a CRV 3D file, you import the vectors themselves and all of the layers. So if I open this up, I see that I also have the bitmap that we traced to come up with these vectors. I can turn off that bitmap and we can see that there are the vectors there, all grouped, but we have this bitmap layer. I don't want this bitmap layer at all. We don't need it. I just want the vectors for this artwork. So I'll select that layer, right-click, and delete it. Now it'll immediately come up and tell me that there is data on that layer and ask what do I want to do with it. This data is the bitmap itself. I don't want to keep that bitmap. So I'll select delete that data, click OK. Now I come up here and I no longer have that bitmap. All I have are these vectors. So now I want to size these vectors to fit my material. So I'll come over here to set selected object size. I want to make sure I have link XY checked. I want to look for the largest dimension. In this case, it's the width in X. And I want to make this set of vectors smaller than my material out here, which again is 6 inches. So I'll come over here and I'll enter 5.75 width, which makes it slightly over 5 inches tall. I'll click Apply. Then close that. So now I have my vectors within my piece of material. Now I'm ready to save this file. With a 2D vector drawing like this, for use in the clip art, that's as simple as saving it as a CRV file in that My Clip Art folder. So I'll come up here to File, Save As, and I will navigate to that hard drive, to my CNC Files folder, to the My Clip Art folder. Then I'll give it a name, and I'm going to call it VW Bug, and I'll save that file. So now, when I go over here to this folder, there it is. And if I click down here, there's a preview of it. Now, if I decide I need to use this piece of clip art, for instance, let's go ahead and close that. We'll create a new file using the exact same settings here. Nothing has changed. I start my new file. I can come over here to Clip Art. I can come over here to Add Folder and navigate this PC down to my hard drive here. There's my Clip Art folder. I just want to select that folder and click OK. That has imported everything in that folder to my clip art. So now the next time I create a drawing and I want to use these vectors, I can just come out of my drawing tab into my clip art tab, select my clip art, and there is that artwork. I can double click it. It places it right in the center of my material. I can go back to my drawing tab, scale it up, scale it down, whatever I need to do with it. So, it's just a way to get vector art that you use a lot into your clip art tab where it's in a handy position. So, let's go ahead and do that again with another one just to double check, and I'll show you something else here. We'll come over here to File, Import Vectors, and I'll go back up here into my directory, and we will get into another bitmap trace, and that was this Valentine's Day silhouette here. I'll import. Now, it says here that I have some layers that I am reporting onto are invisible. Would you like to show them? No, I do not want those invisible layers. I'll click no. And we see there is our silhouette right there. Come back over to my drawing tab, and again I'll resize it so that the largest dimension is less than 6 inches. Make sure I have link XY checked, and I'll go 5.75. And I'll click apply, close, then click off. Now, before I export this, just a quick word. If I have these vectors selected, when I save this file, the preview like this, the vectors are going to be highlighted in this pink dotted line. That can make it difficult to see what those vectors are. So before you save this file, click off so that you have the black vectors, which makes them easier to see in this thumbnail view and in this thumbnail view. So with this deselected, I will go ahead and save as. I'll put it in my clip art, and I will call this Valentine Heart 1, and save it. Now, it did not immediately appear in this folder. So what I'm going to need to do from here is restart Aspire or VCarve. So I'll shut it down. I'll open a new session of Aspire, create a new file, click OK. Go into my Clip Art tab, select My Clip Art, and there it is. So it won't automatically update while you're in a session of Aspire. You will have to shut down to let it refresh when your Clip Art library loads. But you're beginning to see what's going on here. When you save a file in that folder, in any new session of Aspire or VCarve, it will appear in your My Clip Art folder. Anything that you have that you use a lot of, it's a good idea to set it up into a folder and then add that folder to your Clip Art library. Now, this is the procedure I use when I'm working with a two-dimensional vector. If it's a 3D model, however, this is for Aspire only, and this is something that's a little bit different. The first thing I'll do is close out this file. I'll create a new file, and what I do with my 3D models is I save them in a larger format. So I'll go 12-inch width, a 12-inch height. Once again, the thickness of the material doesn't matter. The only thing I'm concerned with is the model itself. I'll position my Z0 at the surface. Again, it doesn't matter. This does matter. I want my XY datum in the center. Even though this is a 3D model, we're not going to be using the 3D view, so this is irrelevant. I'll go ahead and click OK. And now I want to import the 3D barn star I made a video on quite some time back. And I'll put a link to that video the Valentine silhouette video and the VW bug video down in the description box of this video. So we'll go up here to File, Import, and I want to import a component or 3D model. I'll click on that, and I'll once again navigate to where I stored those tutorial files. And there we are. That is my Barnstar file. I just want the model. Double click. And again, it's way up there and needs to be resized. So I'll come over here with the star selected. I'll align it to the center of my material. Close. I'll reset its size. Once again, I want the biggest dimension size to fit within my material. So I'll go 11.75. Click Apply. That placed my star there and resized it. Now, this is where 3D models are a little bit different than 2D vectors. With my star selected, I don't want to export the entire file. I just want to export that star. I'll come up here to Model and come down to Export as 3D Clipart. So I'll click on that. I'll navigate to the My 3D folder. My 3D model folder's right here. And I will name this Barnstar 3D Clip. 3D Clip files are Aspire-only files. I'll save that. Then come down to my Clipart folder. And I still don't have anything here. I need to add this folder to my Clipart library. So I'll click on Add Folder. Again, I'll navigate to my external hard drive, which is this one here. Go into this folder, click on the little arrow, My 3D Models. That's the one I want to import. Click OK. My folder is now in the Clipart library, and there is my Barnstar model. So now I can start a new session of Aspire. I can create a new file. Say it's 16 by 10.5, 3/4 of an inch thick. I'll just leave this alone as it is. Click OK. I can come down to my Clipart library. There are my 3D models. I can double-click my Barnstar. I can resize it. And place that star wherever I want it. So, creating your own Clipart folders is an easy way for you to arrange and organize the 2D vectors and the 3D models that you have created and that you use often into an easy-to-find folder system that's accessible within your Vectric software. I'll throw another little tip your way, and that is if you look here in the Add Folder directory, if you use a service like Dropbox, OneDrive, any form of cloud storage, and it's available to you within Windows Explorer, you can create these folders in that cloud storage, then import a folder from the cloud storage into your library folders. So if you're like me and you have your Vectric software installed on 2 or 3 computers, you can put all these files into your cloud storage, import that file into your Clipart library. Then all of your artwork is available no matter which computer you're working on. So that's something that's available as well. You can put this link, if it's available in Windows Explorer, you can add that folder to your Clipart library, and that makes it accessible over several different computers. So I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, I do hope you'll give me a thumbs up. Now, as I said earlier, today at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, I'll be hosting a live Q&A session on my YouTube channel where we'll discuss everything I talked about in this video. Again, that's noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on my YouTube channel. And I'll put a link to that live Q&A session down in the description box of this video. I host these live Q&A sessions every Sunday. So if you missed this one, I hope to see you next weekend. That's a good excuse to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And when you hit that red subscribe button down below here, click that little bell right next to it. Then click it again and select all notifications. That way, you'll get a notification every time I post a video and every time I go live. So, once again, I hope to see you this afternoon. And as always, whether you subscribe to my channel or not, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time to watch, and y'all take care.